Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening from around the world. Myself, Stish, here, and my sparring partner, Quinny, back once again for another episode of the End Product Podcast. Episode 86. I think there's been some controversy, Quinny. Last week, we might have got our intros mixed up. We've managed to get a few of the older episodes that are missing on Spotify. So this is officially episode 86. I'm not sure what we said at the beginning last week, but we're here. And it's a big one, Quinny, isn't it? Because it's the all change episode today. There's a lot happening.
There is. We've got everything. We've got divisions. We've got scarcity changes. Pro Plus, whatever we're calling it. D3 is officially now resigned to the history books. And yeah, we've got all sorts to be getting stuck into as well. Lots of guys showing up nice and early for the live recording on the YouTube channel. So thanks to everyone joining us. Don't forget to smash the like button. Red or Dead here teasing us for that one. But yeah, apologies guys. We did mess up the numbers last week and there was a few Spotify uploads that didn't get done, but I managed to get them out over the weekend. And I also realised that we'd left episode 42 on the shelf, which was titled Sorare IRL, which I think was a pretty good episode. Pretty, me and you, Stish, I think we maybe been at a match or something, or maybe off the back of sevens. I can't remember exactly what that one was. But yeah, hopefully he's all caught up with that and you can forgive us for the faux pas. And yeah, we're properly here. Tony can't make it today. He's training at the moment. He's getting himself ready for SO5 action for next season. So he can't be with us this morning. But Tony will be back as soon as he's available, of course, because it is all change all across the landscape for us all. Stish, I mean, you were just talking about, first thoughts and feelings and all the rest of it. We've got a poll in the live chat as well. What do you think? Thoughts and feelings on, before we get underway, has this made the game better? Has it made it worse? And in the live chat, of course, feel free to express all those thoughts and feelings. Me and Stishy Boy will cover all that, as well as everything else in between. But good morning to you all. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Stishy Boy, it's been the first time I've seen you since we've had the game week open, where we're kind of chatting some stuff there. But how you feeling? How you sitting?
I'm mixed on it. It's just confusing, isn't it? I knew it was going to be, but now that it's there and you can actually mess about with it, it's been really confusing to figure out where I want to target, because I think there's a few caveats this week, isn't there, where everyone's a bit spread out. Some people might not be quite in the correct division based on their thing. I think the next few weeks are going to be ironing things out, and people are going to be finding their ways up or down the divisions. So it's going to be a weird few weeks, and I think that there's going to be a few tactical decisions to be made in the coming weeks. And I think that a lot of those will be made a little bit more clear after this weekend. I think for me personally, I still like All-Star and what's available to us in that. I know, I don't know if there's a part of me that just doesn't want to let it go, but yeah, definitely missing a bit of Rare Pro, Rare Plus action. That has been difficult. And it's been quite painful looking at some of my blue cards in those red lineups already. So I don't know about you, Quinny, but I don't know if you're using any supers or uniques in your rare lineups or not already.
No, I was close, actually, because I had unique Ivan Martin, but so this is maybe a wee bit of a tangent to go on straight away, but I was really itching to get that card moved on because it's an in-season unique and he's a run-of-the-mill guy by all accounts, but at that unique level, he's maybe got a tinge more appeal than he does at rare, for example, in terms of viability, especially with free lineups potentially in some of these competitions, whatever. Anyway, tried to sell him for basically since the announcement and never really had a sniff at a bite. And Pavel has a super rare in season as well. So when I kind of clicked onto that, I was like, well, if I can trade Pavel, my unique for the super, and try and get some more supers for trading the colour of the card, then essentially, then I'll try and do that. And I kind of hounded Pavel. I think he rage accepted eventually, just with how stingy my offers were and how inflexible I just unfortunately was with people to negotiate for it. And as soon as I did that, I felt good and all the rest of it. I didn't feel good. I felt sad to see the card go, but I felt like I'd got a good kind of transaction underway. But then, like you say, I was looking at All-Star. You can still play, like we said on the channel, like we said here, when we got the questions on the End Product Podcast and a few other places, will you still be able to play uniques in the super rare division in All-Star? Because we're getting rid of the pro division, so the cross scarcity thing was a bit of a question mark. But you can still play the unique in the super rare and have a bigger bonus against the super rares in the all-star division. Don't know under
I
23,
didn't clock
but
that.
for all-star, yeah.
Whoa, hold the press. I thought that they were just going down in there. I didn't realise they were still getting their bonus.
So I wish for one more game week I'd kept that Martin, because I could have really actually used him. Because I don't know if McGregor's going to start this weekend, so I've kind of deprioritised him in that way. So I can't remember how we got onto that, but I thought I would tell you about the Martin thing as a point about it.
Right,
the
yeah.
UI looks a lot better for sure. I think it was in terms of having different colours of cards in different teams. I don't have that anywhere else. But I was watching McBride on YouTube last night, and McBride, obviously the Scottish Whale, has got an untold number of cards in all colours, and he has limited teams that are all rare cards. You know, it's yeah, just the way it kind of shakes out and stuff like that. So I'm sure we're going to see some very interesting problems, dilemmas, and even just wacky teams like all rare limited, some super rares in the rare column, and a few other bits and bobs in between.
Yeah. I mean, when I was doing my lineup builder on Sorare data, it wasn't showing me my rares in my limited selections. But now I'm just going to have a little go on that in Sorare. Yeah, there they are. All my rares are there. So I might well have a few cheeky limited lineups that I wasn't expected to have, which is good. The thing I hate most is leaving out useful cards on a game week, on a weekend, especially when you've got lots of fixtures and you're looking and you've got a goalkeeper you can't use because you've already done all your rares or your super rare team. So now that definitely is helpful to me, at least, because I've got rid of quite a few limiteds down the last sort of year. Just kind of come out of it a little bit, but yeah, that'll be nice. Probably not so nice for limited managers now that they're gonna have to compete against probably some more lineups that they might not have had to compete against. But yeah, intrigued for that. And the UI looks good. I know a lot of people have been mentioning in the comments already in the live stream. But yeah, I do like the update to the game week, kind of like the team building part. I think that's a good update on Sorare part. The leaderboard in the divisions is quite easy to read. You know, the rewards, the prize pools, all in the same place. So I've been really impressed with that. That was one thing that struck me straight away was the new layout, and I think the new layout is actually good. I don't know about you, Quinny, but I really like the interface. I think that's a big improvement personally.
Yeah, I quite like it. It does a lot better on phone than on desktop. But on desktop, it's still pretty handy. Great comment here from Rico Man saying Pranksy's been buying limited keepers for his spare super rare and all the rest of it cards. So I guess he just won't do training anymore. He can just do like limited goalkeeper entries with his spare bits, which is an interesting thing. And Joel has obviously been moaning the lack of common goalkeepers now available in Cap 220 Limited for the short time that Cap 220 Limited remains. And yeah, I definitely feel that's going to get some people into the market for a goalkeeper. But our season keepers at limited level are pretty affordable, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know, even if you need to save up for a little bit, like 20 quid or something like that, it's not an obscene amount of money.
I think there must be limited goalkeepers out there that are under a tenner now. There must be like fairly useful ones. My brother, shout out my brother, by the way, he finished, I think he finally finished, he was 4th over the weekend in Cap 220 Limited. And he won himself a limited goalkeeper in season, the Jean-Book goalkeeper, who's also under 23. So I thought I'll have a little look at what his price, given he's in season and U23, and he's at a good side in the K League, obviously that puts him in contender. But that goalkeeper in season is 15 quid. So if that's 15 quid, then there must be a lot out there that, unless you're targeting the Premier League competition or Champ or something like that, then there's a lot of goalkeepers out there. If a goalkeeper is U23 and in season and playing at a top club is 15 quid, then there must be a lot of limited goalkeepers out there, like in that sort of £5 range that you can get to fill out a team or two. So yeah, I guess it is gutting because no one wants to dip into the market unless they really feel like they want to. And yeah, I get that totally. But yeah, not the end of the world. If you can pick up a threshold or two between now and the end of the season, then that could help pay for one, I'm sure.
Now, one of the things we've got comments here talking about how many cards Wales can win and how many cards we can all win, essentially, the way things are kind of shaking out. Now, a key factor, and this is something that we're going to see in the fullness of time, right, is going to be the head count and the quality in each division, right? Now, I've not found an easier way to do this yet, right? But when you go onto this page, which is accessed by just the add team button, you access this page on any of the competitions through there. You can then see a complete head count on the competition. For rare champion in season, we're looking at 1433. And then I think if I look at this team I've entered, for example, oh no, it's not this button here. Yeah. Maybe it's back here. If I click on them here, I then see like the little layout for the team, and we see a leaderboard count here. 336 are in this particular division, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure there's a way to access it to see it all very easily at an overview. This little bar, I suppose, moves on the game week, like probabilities, maybe like SD probabilities or something. So that's a nice wee thing that wasn't there yesterday when I was looking. But that'll be an interesting little detail, the head count on divisions.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've not even spotted that myself, so that's good. I'm having a little look now at trying to do one just to see. Let me just do a quick classic season line. Oh yeah, there you go. So classic season Division 2 in Champ currently has 1,000 entrants as it stands. I'm not sure if that's high or low. I'm trying to figure out how that is. Let's have a look at classic season in Div 1. Currently 498 entrants, or 488. Yeah. So one thing looking at the Div 1, Quinny, I don't know about yourself. I found myself in a few Div 1 pools. We kind of speculated on that in a few weeks leading up to this point, didn't we? And as expected, I did manage to land in D1 in a classic season and in-season champ. And then in Challenger, I find myself with Div 1 in classic season. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. The one thing it's not clear to me at the moment, you might be able to help with, is how can we see how many teams get relegated out of Div 1?
That's what that bar is, Rico Man's pointing out to us. So that little bar that we see is the promotion relegation bar.
Well, mine's only shown as red and grey. It doesn't show. So it is. So
D1, this is a D. Yeah, you can't get promoted from D2.
No, yeah. But in D1, the 50% get relegated.
It looks like it, yeah. I think someone's maybe sent me a link to a spreadsheet or something, because someone's mentioning spreadsheets. Yeah, and I've been sent a spreadsheet.
I'm not seeing any red on the classic season. Oh, no, hold on. I'm seeing 50% grey and 50% red. So, yeah, maybe 50% do get relegated then from D1.
So we've got some sort of spreadsheet here. I don't know if this is auto-populating and stuff or whatever, but this has been sent to me by Rico Man. So I guess this is doing the rounds. We'll probably end up in the Telegram group for the members. Members stream will be 5 o'clock on Thursday today, for anyone that's here, by the way, UK time. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Effective reward, SO5 lineups. Yeah, when does this change? Is this like plugged in? You know, is this updated every 30 minutes? It says at the top. There we go. If you read, you'll find the answer.
So, description, Quinny, so people who are watching back or listening can find it, because I could do this having my hands on this spreadsheet as well. Yeah. And for those listening, I guess those people listening on Spotify, as opposed to watching, there's a spreadsheet on screen that has predicted sort of reward percentages. So yeah, we'll have to make sure that we fire that out on Twitter for anyone listening now. Follow us M Product Pod on Twitter and we'll get the link up.
Premier League Classic Super Rare, 100% at the moment. Chance of a reward.
Premier League Classic Super Rare.
I guess that'll be Division 1.
Yeah.
4 entries, 4 rewards, whatever that is in that one. Classic of the cards. That's funny to see at this point. That'll change ever so slightly, you'd imagine. But here's one here. Challenger in-season limited at the moment is at 93%.
Challenger in-season limited.
And that looks like D4, maybe?
D4, yeah. 93%.
Challenger in-season unique, 88%. Contender in-season limited D4 is at 60%. That's quite healthy. That's a unique division.
I'm feeling like a lot of people... This weekend's going to be really important for how like the general
Wow.
feel. I think if everyone feels like they've won something or they've got near something, or so I think that the difficult part at the moment is trying to pick where to sort of target. I guess if you've got a very sort of spread out gallery in terms of what divisions people play in, it's hard to put players at the moment.
Contender rare is at 7%, under 8% for D1 and 2, which looks to be really low. I wonder what the other rare ones look like. So Challenger rare D1 and 2 is 2% better off, but still actually quite tough. And then Champion Classic D1 and 2 at rare is actually in between the two of them. So they're all actually equally as competitive. It actually looks, at first glance there, I thought, wow, Contender was way harder, but it is the hardest, but there's very fine margins in between it.
So Contender's the hardest, but I guess it's the cheapest entry point, isn't it? So
yeah, highest volume of teams and entries and all that as well, just for the amount of leagues that are there.
Teams and players in it as well, isn't it? It's got there's a lot of cards in the pool there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's interesting. We'll maybe come back to that. Our division is pretty low on entries in the first week. Yeah, so there will be some anomalies with that for sure. And I think like what won't be factored into it quite yet is like so many people, like today's Thursday. I think when you wake up tomorrow, numbers will be way more closer to what they'll be when the whistle goes.
Yeah.
And this is a fun element of the new UI is we can name our squads, we can name our teams, and I've used this in two ways. I've used this for the super rares to remind me when I'm looking at them, like, is this in season or a a classic? Because when you look at the overall thing, it's not always smacking you in the face, what competition they're in, if you know what I mean. So I've called one money team and one a card winner, and it's just my top team for either one. That's a wee bit of fun. And then I called this one the Sly Bar Stewards just because I was going for a wee bit of. I had Zach and Ian in this team to start off with, and I thought we Sociedad stat could be fun if it went off. Got into the money places.
Those team names will show up on the leaderboard when they're like, if everyone else will see them, or if they're just for like our own notes. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Like FC Barcelona and Sly Bar Stewards or something.
Yeah.
Or the money team or whatever. The Hit No Hope, whatever you'll be calling your team. So if you get any funny team names, let us know. On the poll that we've been running throughout the stream, it's been on for the whole time we've been live so far. We'll keep it live for another 10-12 minutes if you've not voted yet, but it's 97% Sorare is better, so pretty resounding at the moment. The spreadsheet is free. I found it on X last night. Just copy my link and open it. Do we have to buy the spreadsheet? Yeah, I think it's kind of on Twitter, and we'll get it in the Telegram group and everything else. Updates every 30 minutes, so it's a good thing to keep handy whenever you get it. So yeah, it'll be passed about and tossed about, no problem at all. So that's a nice wee part of the UI as well. It just helps you maybe keep your priorities in line as well. Let you, not lose sight of, oh no, that was the team I wanted to do this, or that kind of thing. So like, there's been a lot of moving pieces with trading strategies, thinking about preparing for this happening. Stish, see now that you've got your actual hands on it and you've been building some teams.
Yeah.
What's been cast in the die when you get through this? What you finding weakness and strengths?
I think until I see what people are pulling from the reward pools this weekend, I'm going to be keeping a keen eye on that when the rewards come out. But for me, this weekend, everything was a bit too spread out for me. So I didn't have any like specific divisions where I'm like, right, a lot of my good fixtures are in there all together. So for me, it made more sense still to target the All-Star and the cap modes just because I had a little bit more flexibility there. And I've managed to get a lot of sort of classic teams out. I've got a couple of in-season teams, but I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the Harry Kane sort of fitness updates because I've got a really strong lineup in Champ in season. But if he's not going to play, those cards would be better used strengthening other lineups and not playing in season Champ at all. But obviously in the back of my head, there's the whole, obviously this is a first game week. So a lot of the whale accounts are going to have their division split. So, the likes of Pranksy, JR Duke, Bambies and that, they're only going to have one lineup in the in-season rare Div 1 this week. So part of me is like, even if I don't feel like my lineup strength is like as optimal as it could be, like a lineup strength of sort of 79, 80 could be enough if the results go my way. Obviously, the fixtures aren't great with Bayern playing Borussia Dortmund, and I've got Kimmich and Kane there. Kimmich is still playing at right back, so I'm not getting the full bang for my buck out of that lineup. Also, I've got Ruben Diaz in there. There's a little bit of a question mark over him because he didn't start against Liverpool. They've got Arsenal the weekend, and I'd expect him to start, but Pep just, you never know with Pep, do you? So
there's big injuries in the Man City defence, so whoever's fit will be playing. So if Diaz isn't one of the guys injured, everyone else is injured.
I haven't got round to sort of doing the play sharper scouring just yet, but yeah, I think if all of those are likely to start, then I'll put it in there because this is as good a week as any to give it a shot. I think in season, and I don't have a great deal of in season cards, so again, like I've got an in-season team for Contender, which is pretty scraped together with like one really good classic card in there. And I definitely think my strongest lineups actually have gone into All-Star Super Rare and Cap 240 Rare. I think they're my two strongest lineups in terms of fixture difficulty, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know about you, but if you look at the cash rewards in Classic season, I still think that there's actually a better shot at winning some cash playing in All-Star than there is, unless you've got a really optimal in-season lineup. I think this weekend, or at least this weekend, I don't know how it will pan out over the course of the next few months until the end of the season, but the All-Star competitions still look pretty decent because there's cash and cards in them still. So I was looking at All-Star Rare for some of my stronger lineups this weekend. Rare, All-Star Rare, All-Star Super Rare, and a Cap 240 in Rare. I've got an okay Cap 240 Super Rare lineup as well. A lot of that kind of depends on whether or not we think Nicholas Kuhn is going to start for Celtic. All indicators at the moment are telling me that he should start. You're probably a little bit more tuned in than I am, but everything I've looked at up to this point has me kind of keeping him in that lineup. So, but I'll be keeping a keen eye on U23 as well this weekend. It's going to be really interesting to see the kind of rewards people are getting out of that because obviously we haven't got multi-entry in U23, so I'm not sure how that will affect the sort of overall leaderboard. You'd expect people to go pretty strong still in U23. I don't know about you, but with only one lineup, you're going to be spreading some of those better cards maybe into Challenger and Contender. So I'm excited for the weekend personally. Obviously, we've had a break as well. The international fixtures are always a little bit boring for those of us who play so rare. But overall, I'm keeping a pretty open mind. I'm not, like I said, I want to see what's in these boxes. I want to see how many boxes I can win, how exciting it is to get the boxes. If I don't win a card, how close I come to a card, whether or not I feel like I'm in the right division. There's a lot this weekend, isn't there? So I'm hitting for what I know, All-Star, Cap modes, and I've got my entries in the other divisions, and I'm just hoping that some results come good and I find myself hopefully in a card or box reward. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting few weeks as people are moving between divisions, really. So yeah, I'm going to try and figure out what the play is there. But for now, I think I'm just going to be hitting the highest divisions that I can with what I've got available. Some of them are not looking great, so I'm expecting I might get knocked down in a couple of divisions. But yeah, hopefully, can win enough boxes with that 5% chance of a card, and that'll be exciting. If you have a decent win out of a box, that'll be really cool. So quite excited about potentially pulling a few boxes at the very least.
Looking for food here does add, like, all boxes have a 5% chance of winning. So like, it's one of those ones where I'm looking forward to getting to the end of the game week. If you've had a good game week and you're picking up, like, let's say 7 rare boxes of varying qualities or whatever. And, for my gallery, maybe yours as well, maybe we get 2 or 3 super rare boxes to open as well. there is going to be way more disappointment than joy. I do feel with some of that, but it's really going to come down to how many you can pick up in a game week, you know, and that's the kind of missing piece of this, because like you said at the kind of beginning of that, like everyone's only got one team in each division. They've not got to the point yet where the team, like the galleries that we're worried about, that have 3 teams per competition of equal quality, have, you know, the reigning control over Division 1. That's what we kind of expect to happen over time. Right now, that's not the case, because like you say, you get 2 divisions that are ranked, and then the third one goes to the bottom, sort of thing. So if you are at the top ones, you're only facing one Pranksy, you're only facing one Nanzo and all the rest of it. Whereas in a month, you'll be facing 2 or 3 of these guys at that point, you know. So there is going to be, and then in the mix of that, like you're mentioning, the All-Star, the opportunity there, the cash is still fantastic in All-Star, but it is limited to the podium, you know. So even though, like, you know, it's just podium, which is what we're used to Sorare wise, but it's chunky amounts, which, you know, when you look at the cash amounts for like in-season Super Rare, like I don't think a lot of the amounts are actually that like mad exciting, you know, if you get me.
The cards go a lot further back though. If we take
the cards go much further back, and they're guaranteed cards, you know, because when you look at all the divisions that have the boxes available, guaranteed cards are actually very shallow, you know. There's not, it's like 50, 60, 80, you know, I can't remember all the rare numbers off the top of my head, but it's like that. Whereas All-Star Rare, guaranteed card payout to 630, you know. So maybe that's something we'll see develop into next season when they don't have that commitment here to honour, especially for the cap modes and whatever as well.
That's my thinking. And I'm thinking as well, like, looking at my in-season options, I'm a bit thin. So if I can win a couple of cards, hopefully, you know, in the coming weeks, then I might have a bit of a better shout at the in-season across some of the divisions if I win something. So that was my thinking on it, really, as opposed to the cash necessarily. But the cash is still there, obviously, in the cap modes. And if I'm not mistaken, let me just go back and have a quick look. But cap modes still have card rewards as well. So you can still win, as well as the cash you can win, you can still win a card, which is great. Really good. And, you know, if you're playing limited, you can still win rares in there as well. So, yeah, that, I think cap mode still makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm sure it does to a lot of people.
Cap 270 rare pays out to 326. That's tier 5s, right enough. It doesn't get exciting until the top 126, where it's a tier 3, which on recent weeks would have been a DNP, but maybe going forward to fix that. And we're limited, just under 1,300 gets paid out for cap 270 still. And it's probably the top 200 where you're getting excited when it's a tier 2 limited or better thereafter. So definitely a good card commitment still in the cap modes there. And like Jay mentioned it in the chat earlier, but it's hard to imagine this arena without the cap modes, without this All-Star section in it, still being as vibrant, if you get me, you know, because like there's plenty of stuff to do up here, don't get me wrong, but, you know, there's only so many, you can only do 3 teams in a region, you know, and if you've got more clubs and more players and all the rest of it, some of these, you know, some of the utility that we're, you know, putting teams out against at the moment, it feels like it would be weird without it. So there's a lot of pressure on these special weeklies, I feel.
Definitely. I feel like, as it stands, I've got a lot of cards kind of going unused at the moment. Just the way that my gallery's spread. I've got a lot of outfield players in Challenger, but not enough goalkeepers. And on the flip side, I've got too many goalkeepers in Contender, not enough outfielders. So I've got a little bit of an imbalance there, which means that I'm not really getting the best out of my Challenger cards. I've got a lot of good cards that, as it stands, I'm not using. I'm probably going to do a complete redraft again today, now that I've had a bit of time to get used to seeing my gallery in the new kind of splits. But I think the headache for me was like certain players now go with certain players. And yeah, obviously I think if you play stacks, you probably got a bit less of a headache, as we've been saying. Now it's really apparent like how much easier it would be if you've got more team stacks, at least while you're trying to figure this out and get used to the new split. But yeah, I'm looking as it stands. I've only got one sort of classic season lineup in Challenger, but I think I might sacrifice the in-season lineup because I think it will be much stronger putting out a second team in in the classic season. So I guess that's a question to put out to anyone that's watching now, is if you're in a position where you've got like a kind of an okay lineup that's in season, are you more inclined this weekend to play in season or to put those cards to use in the classic season to try and win better cards for the weeks coming? Because that's kind of the headache I'm having at the minute, is apart from that champ lineup I've got, the rest of my in-season lineups are a bit weak, and I might be better off just making sure I've got 3 better classic lineups. You know, talking about those card, you know, the boxes and stuff like that. You never know. You're in with a shout, aren't you? And you know, if you're thinking like 1 in 20 boxes is going to win a card, if you can win, if you can win 20 boxes, because some of those divisions pay out like 2-3 boxes in a position, don't they? So if you can get, you could easily, not easily, but you know, there's a shout that you might have 10 boxes to open. So you got like you know, if that's the case, you'd expect that you should win a card out of your boxes. If you're winning 10 boxes a week, you should have a card win every month out of your boxes, at least one, you know, and that's conservative. You should, like, by odds have 2, really. But yeah, you'd expect to win maybe 1 card per month if you can scrape 10 boxes a week across the 2 game weeks. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe I play classic season, play the box game, because I'm not sure that my teams are strong enough to finish in that like top 40, 50 positions. Maybe they are this weekend. We'll talk a bit more about that. I know me and Quinny think we've spotted a little Easter egg, which if you're listening, stick around to the end, because we're going to save that for the diehards. But we think there might be a little sneaky way into the rewards this weekend. So keep tuned in for that. But Quinny, yeah, like, is there anything else? Have you had any thoughts on that kind of like spreading your in-season cards back into the classic season if it kind of strengthens the lineups and options?
Yeah, so I'm not too bothered. I'm not too bothered about how many in-seasons I have, but I am aware that the in-seasons I do have limited access to money competitions, you know. So I'm trying to, like you've seen with the way I'd named that team, like I've named one a money team, and I'm not even I've not got the amount of teams to go in behind it, but I'm putting one team into Super Rare, into the cash competition, and then I like to think one of equal strength into the cards, and I'm just kind of going that way. And I'm keeping my cap 240 Super Rare going. This will be the same for anyone at Rare Unlimited or something, I suspect as well. But and I'm kind of looking at that because, you know, the base threshold of $60 at Super Rare and, you know, whatever it is at Rare Unlimited or whatever, it's not too different to like the tail of the cash rewards that are in some of these divisions, if you get me. So the Super Rare one kind of ticks that little, it's like a little money team. It's like a little sub. It's not a priority one, but it's still one. And then the last team I made with the 4 keepers I've got was another card team, and it was with players that, you know, should do well, get good fixtures, will start, but maybe don't have 90 minutes or have a tough game, because that's just all I had left, if you get me. But with Rare, as soon as I seen that Rare, I had like the ability to make like a Rare in season at Champion, doesn't matter what region it is, I was like, well, I'm definitely going to give that a try rather than putting it into Classic, because you're just going to be against way more at Classic, just fact of the matter, you know. So if the guys have good fixtures, they can score over 70 points, then that's why I created the Sly Bar Stewards, and just thought, even though Quattra's playing AC Milan at home and Goretzka's at home at Dortmund, like they could both smash a big score in a game like that, and then if the guys up front score their goals, you know, that's 4 players on 70. You just need the goalkeeper to catch up, and then you cross your fingers that that's enough when the game week's over. With a team like that, you know, I'm not saying that's good enough for definitely the standard, but I'm thinking in season it's got a better shot than it does in Classic, you know.
Yeah, I hear that. Makes sense. Yeah, well, maybe, yeah. With that in mind, I think you made a good case for it there. That maybe you should be shooting for those in season, especially like I said. I've not really got any doubts about putting that champ lineup in, but I think some of my others are looking a bit weak, and yeah, particularly in Challenger, I think that I've got a good goalkeeper situation there in season. But the rest of my team is a bit like, yeah, they might not start. They might start. And it's like, use that goalkeeper, get another champ, a challenger, classic team in and see if I can win a box or two. You never know, do you, really? But another thing is, I know a lot of people were talking about the cards you can win in the boxes, but personally, for me, I think especially now, because with potential to win a lot of boxes, most of us are just going to win a boost, player boost. But if you've got players on like level 19 in your gallery or level 18, those boosts are actually pretty useful, in my opinion, especially as we're moving into games where collection bonuses are coming in. You're going to be playing against more people with similar lineups to you in the divisions that you're entering them in. I think those boosts are going to be actually pretty useful. And I'll be using mine as soon as I open them. I think I'll be going straight into my gallery, filtering out anyone who's like not at level 20 and picking out those players who are in like level 18, 19, try and max them out and then put them to bed and then try and get as many of my useful cards as high up in XP as possible. So yeah.
But you won't need to win boxes to get them, you know. I know there's a kind of idea when we talk about this, like, oh, well, everyone will have level ups coming out their backside, but you still need to get boxes, you know.
But I don't think that's a bad reward. If you don't win a card, I don't think you're going to be. I think you'd be gutted, but you shouldn't expect to win a card on a weekend. That should be a bonus. So those card boosts are actually not a bad thing to win. That's definitely better than winning nothing. That's for sure. I think a lot of us have been winning nothing a lot of the time. So it'll be a good experience for people who maybe haven't had anything exciting to open. And I'm looking forward to seeing. I think I saw
a fun way to win nothing.
Yeah. Well, I said someone in the week, I think playing Rivals managed to win like a Dembele limited card. I thought that's a decent card to win out of a box. So hopefully we have a few more stories like that next week where someone lucky has picked up a Messi or something like that out of a box. You know, someone's got to do it. There are star rewards in the boxes, right? I think obviously it's quite a slim chance at winning them, but someone in Div 1 is going to win a star reward at some point, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Div 1's the one with the highest chance of a star, right?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, Div 1, when it comes to cards, like what they've said to is like you want to be in the highest division, 1,000%, because all the boxes are of equal quality, and you know they want somebody at the back end of the reward pool to get a card or two here or there. So it's not like it's going to be in any way like a false like heading, you know, it's a false target to aim at. You know, like if you just get in the boxes, you've got just as much of a chance of opening what's in them as anyone else. So and the box quality of D1 is totally different to D2, and D2 is totally different to D3. They did a decent enough job of that, but I had a bit of a comment earlier, 2 comments about like the amount of boxes, percentages, and all the rest of it. So when like the blog came out, I do think that was like a representation of what they're intending to do. Like roughly 30% of people should get a box or whatever. And at that time, we were also looking at the box volume and whatever, and all we had to go off of was the last time they did reward boxes, and the card payouts are like 10% rather than 5%. So the qualities went up, maybe the amount availables went up, and the ability to win is probably not actually that different, you know, like rather than getting one box to give you 2 at a certain level, and where they gave you no boxes, they now give you 1. It's because they've now got so many more. They can give 3 at the top or 4 at the top or whatever it is they're up to. So it's just all maths. They've still got the same amount of cards to give away, you know, like the amount of cards doesn't actually change. It's just how many fun ways to not win can they give us at the same time.
I think that's a good point, actually, because I've been looking at the reward pools and I'm like, oh, it all looks like less, but I'm looking at it from someone who's been fortunate to play at the top end of the game for long enough now. When you go down the divisions and you think there's going to be people playing in Div 3 and Div 4 who, you know, have, you know, the top 100 places are paid out in Div 3 and Div 4. Wait, Div 3 is 100 places in rare. I'm looking at Champion Classic season here as an example. And then you go down to Div 4 and it's like the top 43 are going to win a tier 5. And you think those people are not going to be competing with the big whales. So people playing in Div 4 are going to be playing against other managers in Div 4. After a few weeks, a lot of those big accounts won't be anywhere near Div 4, right? They'll be well out of it. So in a few weeks' time, your average kind of like user is going to be experiencing card wins and, you know, ranking higher up. And I think that is going to equate to a much happier demographic across the user base, where people will feel like they're in with a shout, because they're not necessarily. It might not be great for people like you and I, Quinny, who are going to be unfortunately competing with 3 Pranksy teams every weekend. But yeah, you know, it's gonna spread the winds out a little bit more. And I think that the overall kind of feeling towards a product should lift a bit, based off that. You know, it should be a little bit more inviting for people who are not involved in the game just yet. I think the price point for cards now is perfect for people to get involved. This is all coming in now. We can kind of get used to it. They can do a nice big marketing push towards the beginning of the next season, hopefully get the cards out on time. And yeah, but I just think it's going to be really interesting to see how happy people who are playing in like Div 3 and below are with the competition there and the competitiveness.
Yeah, I think the division structure is like the only thing we're yet to really feel the force of now. Like, how well have they separated it? Because again, like, all we're used to is going into champion rare, challenger rare. Yeah, rare probes around, but that now is totally like, I don't think that really bears much bearing on maybe Division 1 of these regions, perhaps. But you know, outside of that, it's mainly, I think, like, yeah, D4, 3, 2 are quite similar to what you've probably experienced with like champ rare. And it is like, and again, it's with single team entry, which we definitely have in each division this game week. After this game week, people will be promoted and relegated all over the place, obviously, so it'll be slightly different. But when it is just one team each, like, how many times, and this is what I'm kind of saying to myself when I'm building some of these teams, how many times have I been in the top 50 and not got a card? How many times have I been in the top 100 and not got a card? And I think that's probably happened quite a fair lot amount of times. And then I check the numbers on this, right? Where did the prizes begin? Where did they get interesting? And you know, aiming for the top is obviously what you're always doing when you're building your number one team or your gallery and all the rest of it. But when it comes to like target setting into the game week, like, I'm always just kind of after, whereas like above, you know, like if everything kind of happens nicely, where should I kind of get to? And, you know, does that make it worthwhile? Of course, then if the dream situation happens, you're rubbing your hands together, of course. But because there is going to be higher quality teams as well in some of those lower divisions, and that can be the tricky part, because everyone's team 3, like you were mentioning, Stish, to me before we came on, everyone's team 3 goes into bottom division.
Yeah. So yeah, that those divisions, as we mentioned off air, like there are certain sort of like little hot spots, aren't there, for entering this week? Should we get into that now, Quinny? Do you think this is the time?
Yeah, so I kind of got on this, and as soon as you mentioned it, I was like, oh, Stishy boy, we're on the same wavelength here. I love this. So we mentioned the Sly Bar Stewards earlier on, okay? The reason that they're called the Sly Bar Stewards is because I've put them in Division 3. I've not taken my top team, which would be in Division 2, and I'm not putting them in the bottom one. And the reason for that is you maybe work out, this doesn't work for Super Rare, sadly, because there's only 3 divisions, but it works for Rare and it works for Limited. But all the top dogs, as we all know, they are ranked in Division 1. So all their best teams are in Division 1, like it or not. So that's where they all are. Their second team, as we all know, goes into Division 2, and you can probably see where this goes already. And then their last team all goes into the bottom division. So for Rare, D3 is a kind of non-whale paradise for... Yeah. Now, there's obviously still got pricks like me and Stish hovering around it, you know. Yeah. But, you know, it's like kind of, you know, there's a little no-whale zone there, which is lovely. And in Limited, it's basically the same principle, but we're getting Division 3. Maybe it's Division 4, because I don't know how many teams are actually in Division 1. Maybe it's quite exclusive at Limited. I'm not too sure how big it is. But, you know, the same principle for Division 3, hopefully, and probably Division 4, because, like,
Four's going to probably be the meat of the limited one, I reckon. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's an interesting play for the first week. Definitely worth a little look if you can get into the Div 3 of Rare and Div 3 or 4 in Limited. You might have a little bit more play, or you might find your lineups banging that little bit more. I've only got a couple that I think I can hit into those. Let's have a look now. I've got a D3 option in Challenger, and
so to be in D3 or these divisions, so for the Limited one, for you to be eligible to put a team into D3, you need to be ranked your best team in D2
Yeah.
or D3, you know?
Yeah.
And then the only way to get to D4 is to be ranked in D3 or D4. So yeah, D4 is probably very safe and D3 is maybe half safe.
Yeah.
So that's the only way you can get into those divisions, is by not being ranked as a top tier for your first team, essentially.
But yeah, if you don't want to be playing against the big accounts, who obviously, their third teams are still going to be great, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Of course. Yeah, but they're all going to be bottom division. Bottom division this week is going to be like no holds barred battle royale. Like,
I'd say avoid it if I were you. Like if you can get into that 3 or 4, I think you've got a better chance than you will have in like D5 or D4 if you're playing in rare, because there will still be, there'll be hundreds of really good lineups in that bottom division that will have to work their way up. But those middle tiers, it's like a whale. It's like a little island surrounded by whales. You're in your own little paradise this weekend. Like, enjoy it and go and yield that, like, the bounty. Go find the pirate's booty. Go and get that while the whales are circling, because they'll be in there next week, won't they, with their teams that get moved up from D4 and 5. And yeah, but this week D3 could be the play if you've got that as an option.
Challenger in-season Div 4 has a 92% in-season. That's cash payout, 92% reward opportunity at the moment. Obviously, the couple of hundred Sorare scouts and managers that tune into the End Product podcast for some of that end product will maybe get on that. Maybe it'll go to 85% or something like that.
Challenger in-season Div
D4 limited. I'm going to say that is.
It must be. I think I'm looking now. I've got the option of an in-season Div 3 for Challenger. Not quite the same, but yeah.
So the 3 lineup thing, we've kind of danced around this a little bit throughout the podcast, but the 3 lineup dynamic is something that I've had a particular strategy to drive towards for this time. And we've had a few kind of contrary, like, they're not contrary, but different, just this is how I'll approach it, or this is the way I think it will work, or whatever. Since you've had your shot of it, Stish, the whole 3 lineups into a competition, like, where do you stand on that now in terms of importance, or like even just your own personal plan of attack?
I think for now, I'm going to play it as I see it. Try and pick out the little anomalies, like these little Div 3 plays if you can. But I think from next week onwards, it changes again, doesn't it? Because I don't think we're going to have the benefit of that next week once some of the whales are moved up into that kind of the island, so to speak. So yeah, but the people talking in the chat about like this Challenger in season, classic season, there could be a few plays like that this week. So like, I'm going to be paying close attention to those entries. And that could nudge my judgment a little bit between now and Friday when the cutoff happens. But yeah, it is, as another mate of mine was saying, like, there's so many potential headaches this week, but we'll learn, right? This will become normal to us in a few weeks. It's amazing how many times, been on the platform 3 years now, and we've had quite a few upheavals of the gameplay, and we've been up in arms about it. And 2 months later, it's like you forgot what it used to be like. So I don't doubt we'll be the same here. This will just become commonplace. We'll all be used to it in a few weeks. So the only thing that I'm not doing at the moment, the one thing that it is impacting, is my decisions in the market. I don't want to buy anything just yet until I can see how competitive my best lineups are, or like how close I am. Really intrigued to see what the scoring's like in some of the divisions where I'm lacking a card or two, where it's like, oh, if I bring that in, I can compete a bit more here. And I've been looking in the market this week. There's been a little bit of a price spike on some of the cards I've been looking at. And as I've mentioned on here a few times, I'm short like a super rare champ goalkeeper. And I've been looking at the market quite a lot, actually, the last week, more so than I have been probably for about a year, to be fair, on the platform, really trying to plug a gaping hole in the gallery. But I can't help but think this is me playing for. This is not in-season play for me. This is a classic play. So my head's telling me, just wait, like, sit it out for a minute, You've got a few weeks to figure out how competitive these divisions are going to be and how close you might be to getting in amongst the rewards. If I feel like adding a goalkeeper will be worth it, and then I think it'll be like, right, if my lineup's really strong, then I might be wanting to add like a more legit goalkeeper, paying a bit more money and trying to compete a bit higher up the divisions. But yeah, I think I'm going to sit on the sidelines for a few weeks and just see how this all pans out. Obviously, there might be things ironed out as well. You know, like we could see changes to this in the next few weeks, couldn't we? Where like something that wasn't obvious initially just plays out and is like, oh shit, we need to change that. That can't run like that anymore. So yeah, part of me is like just trying to stick on the sidelines at the moment, trying to just figure out what I need. And I think that we've got between now and the end of the season to do that. So I think that's probably why they've launched this now, isn't it? It's like we've had a little international break to kind of look at it and plan for it and get your lineups together and start thinking about it. The rollout was really smooth as well, as far as like the rollout goes. I've always talked about the UX, but we didn't have any kind of like weird glitches or anything. As soon as the game week opened, it's like bang, it's working. So got to give the team the props for that as well. It was good to be able to just get in and see straight away what divisions I'm in. Like we've had a solid few days of planning here, haven't we, for the lineups at least? So yeah, Finn, it's me interesting to see how we play out the next few months. I'm just going to sit and keep my eyes on the reward pools, the points scored to win a prize, that kind of thing, and yeah, I think that will guide my judgment towards the end of the season. When obviously another thing is hoping for a dip in the card prices that we always get at the end of the season anyway. And if Ethereum goes on the run, then any ETH you hold now is going to be worth a lot more money in a few months' time. So that's the play for me: is sit tight on the Ethereum, watch the reward pools, see what kind of scores you need to score to win in any given division, and then I'll kind of form like the attack plan probably for the beginning of next season, and whether or not I get involved in season cards or not as well. I think that'll be a big thing for a lot of us: is do you pay to get in early and have like less competition, or do you just sit on the sidelines and hope to win your way into it?
Yeah, you're telling me this after I bought a Germany and an England stack. I'm not too sure what that was directly going after there, sorry, but I'll come back to this comment in a second. So I think it's a great one, Stish, if you want to catch it. But with me, like I said, I had quite a deliberate kind of strategy for this free, multi-entry kind of system, with how, like, we've seen it there with the spreadsheet, how difficult those rare divisions are right at the top, under 9%, which is what we expect normally in those plus divisions. It was very difficult, but if you get up there, it was worth it. So it's not totally unheard of. And if anyone's been paying attention to the content of my gallery or whatever, I've been getting a lot of green and white cards coming in. So I've got my first game week and I've always probably had, you've always had the ability to do this across caps and, pros and whatever, but I've never properly went after Celtic stacking wise. It's very good to do it this week because we're playing Livingston. And I think in this kind of game mode, I'm quite excited for it. So I want to show you it, and you can let me know your thoughts on it, Stish, if you think we're going to do well, and anyone else in the chat, of course. And then we'll come to Lorman's comment here. So I think this is a great one as well. So I went with my first team. I'm going double defence with fullbacks. And this is what everyone's talking about now, is the captain bonus, is absolutely chunky. So, your captain needs to be 90 capable, really. You have to imagine they can get above 85 and really be a huge captain. So in my alt squad, I've got another Matt O'Reilly, I've got another Kyogo, but I've got Scales in defence, and I went with Dyson as the striker. So different, yeah. So, and then the third team, I don't know if Hatate is going to play from the start, but I almost certainly think he does play. And the forward card, even from the bench, could be quite fun. And I don't know about McGregor. I don't know. I've got other cards I could use, but I thought I'll use my Tanaka because he's nailed. He's in great form. Good captain choice as well. And then Dyson comes in here again for the second forward. So that'll be in D4, the bottom division. That'll be in D2, and that'll be in D1. So I cannot play contender D3 as an example. So you won't find me in there if any of you guys are playing it this week. How do you feel about that, Sasha? What do you think when you see that? Goalkeepers are all different, of course, Vasil's, Tani and Hart, but
I think I am hoping now that I can get into D3 because I don't want to be anywhere near any big Celtic lineups this weekend. I think you're right. Like, this is a fixture, off the back of international break. They've had time to prepare for it. Someone else in the chat said they're due a clean sheet, and I think they are, because I can't remember the last time I see Joe Hart keep a clean sheet. So, yeah, I like those lineups. I like the play. I think the Matt O'Reilly shout's good. Like you said, with that 50% bonus, if you can hit anyone who's like 80 capable, and O'Reilly's capable of that without a decisive on a good game, isn't he? He can create plenty of chances, but you'd imagine he should be in the mix with the decisive this weekend if Celtic do what we all expect them to do. But yeah, I'm hopeful for you there. I think you should be able to finish high in all the divisions with lineups like that. So also you got Tanny there, who this weekend has a pretty good fixture now. Zelvia have started really well. And even in the games that he hasn't kept a clean sheet, like the goals that they've conceded have been like 85 minutes plus. So if Tanny can just manage to keep a clean sheet this weekend, that could start to look really good. And I've put Tanny in a couple of lineups this weekend as well. He's definitely one of my better goalkeeping options this weekend, I think. So I'm liking the look of that, mate. I think that's looking strong. Will I be expecting to see you high up in the contender lineup? Leaderboards on the weekend.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel quite good for it. I like the fact I can rotate the defence a little bit. So whatever defender scores good, I'll be happy with that. I need to watch out for Celtic training pictures, because a few of the defenders are, like the centre backs anyway, don't really know where all of them are at. The ability to maybe go double forward in case the goals do rain in. There's a team that will make benefit from it, And then, I've also got a bit of a cheat code to Natati. And then also as well, I went and got a fun card yesterday as well. I don't really know why I got it. I really wanted a rookie Lennon Miller. And he just doesn't. I thought, well, that's another contender mid. But I've still got 2 McGregors I'm not using. I've still got 2 Tati midfielders I'm not using, plus some other guys. But I thought I wanted a wee rookie Lennon Miller. I think so. So I really do feel the 3 divisions, like we're talking about, with some, like, maybe what I think of me as a whale in this regard. Like, I want all 3 of those teams in Division 1 ASAP.
Right.
And I want to have, and then you need to have guys that are going to be, you want to keep all 3 of them in D1, because it's a 50% relegation rate, Yeah. So kind of, if you're not getting relegated, you'll probably be in amongst it. You might not get a prize or a reward or money or whatever, but if you don't get relegated, you'll be sniffing, So you need to have teams at that level that should always be sniffing, is what I'm kind of thinking now a little bit with it as well.
If I've got an option of a D1 this week and I don't take it, what happens to it next week? Does it automatically get relegated?
No, that's in August. That'll be the case. But now I think if you leave a team idle, it doesn't move, I think.
Got you. So I'll have a D1 entry next week. So that's another thing to consider, I guess. If you've got really bad fixtures one week, but you've got a D1 entry, maybe you wait until next week and go, let's put that D1 entry in now. Yeah. Mike Baston, I'll take those Celtic lineups on with Petroli, Osipenko, Spittel, Glushenkov, and Dom Baumgartner. I love that. That's a proper Sorare. That's almost an all-star lineup, isn't it?
That's a real Sorare team. Mikey Baston is he's put me to shame here. He's slapping me in the face with a glove and challenging me to a duel at dawn. That's what's happening there. Naming a team like that, because he knows that's a Sorare team, and I'm a dirty stacker in this case. So.
How good has Petroli been this season, by the way, for anyone else who holds that card? I've had him in my gallery for years. I picked him up thinking that he might squeeze his way into Rivers' plans, and he's been out on loan. He's been on the bench. He's been in the division below. But he's managed to get himself up into the Godoy team, who have started the season really brightly. And I think there's only 2 games he hasn't kept a clean sheet so far. So apart from a couple of random rotations that were a bit unexpected, he's been an absolute gallery superstar for me so far this season. So, anyone else who's got that Franco Petroli goalkeeper card must be extremely happy with him as a hold. But yeah, Mike's saying he picked him up for the same reason. Yeah, there'll be a lot of us that have had that card in the gallery for a little while, just lying dormant. It's always nice when they come good. But he's come better than good this season. He's definitely shot right up to the top of the charts when it comes to all-star goalkeeper selections. I think I've got him. I've got Rafael Romo as well, who is doing really well. and I think he's in my main lineup this weekend. He's in the same lineup as Mbappe, so we'll be waiting to see that. That is a proper Sorare lineup, isn't it? You got like players who are in the the lower divisions out in the Southern American region, and you've got Mbappe lined up with them. That's what it's all about for me, at least.
So going into this game week, Stish, what is it we're looking for? Are we looking to win tons of boxes? We're looking to win tons of cash. I'm kind of after a little bit of both, to be honest with you. But that's the thing that I think we're weighing up now, because like the cash competition is like great if you can access it, but then it's like, you know, how much cash is actually paid out? Where's it paid out to, and how good is my team? But it does feel with Classic, more people do feel a bit more comfortable. But you know, with recent times, especially with how big thresholds have been previously. All-Star, how we had those card and cash places for different positions or whatever. You know, I think that's a real that's the element I think people struggle with. It totally is like giving up on one for the other. You know, like either playing all your stuff in season, chasing the cash down, but not having any boxes to open, not getting any cards to be annoyed about. It's kind of have to, or equally going the other way, and all you get is boxes and maybe nothing's in them.
I think a good week for me would be hitting the thresholds. I think I should hit the rare. I'm going to be aiming for the medium threshold, I think, as much as possible. So I'm going to aim for the super rare 400 pointer, and I'm going to aim for the cap 240. What's the 320 or something like that? 340 something. But I think I've got good lineups in those two. So that'll be my main aim, trying to get at least one of those thresholds in. And then beyond that, I think my expectations are reasonably low. I just want to see where things land and get a feel for how to like manage my expectations, I guess, going forward. But yeah, I'd love some boxes to open, and if I can scrape a card or two, any in-season cards I can win between now and August, I think would be really useful to just try and throw my hat in the ring in those in-season competitions a little bit more. We obviously had the announcement of this the special weekly as well, which we should get an update on either today or tomorrow, a bit more clarity on what the sort of prize pools are going to look like for that. But yeah, we've got some kind of like the return of like the old kind of what was the game mode? Was it the specialist?
Specialist.
Yeah, so we got the old specialist kind of mode coming into special weekly soon, and I think that falls on the weekend when we've got European football, haven't we? When we've got like Champions League and Europa in that. So that'd be quite an interesting play. We've got that'll come around sooner than we realize, and I almost feel like I need to start sort of planning for that, because I've definitely got a gallery that would lean into a competition like that in a midweek where there's fixtures available. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, this week, bit of cash from the thresholds and some boxes. I think that would be my main aim. And I'd like to finish as high up as possible in the All-Star. I think the All-Star competitions, I'll be looking for cards. The thresholds, I'll be happy to win the cash. And yeah, anything in the kind of regionals, I really don't know what to expect. So any boxes, any cards I win in those will feel like a huge bonus, I think.
Yeah, so I've got this Continental Night Special Weekly up here. It's the 9th to 12th of April, which is a midweek, and we've got the 3 European Continental competitions lumped in with Libertadores, Sudamericana, and the CONCACAF Champions League, which is kind of cool, right? But I'm also a wee bit meh, because I was hoping these special weeklies would segregate these competitions. Maybe the Americas could go together, right? But the European ones, we've got enough teams, and sometimes, like I've seen this to Laird on last week, but you know, when it comes to European continental qualification, you want Aston Villa in the Conference League. You don't want Man City in the Champions League when it comes to, you know, your midweek play, generally speaking. So I don't think you really enhance the Champions League cards by doing this. I think you really just enhance the other ones against them, because you can win cards that are playing in the game week. So this is a great chance to win Champions League cards with non-Champions League cards.
That's
Any
true.
scarcity of a season can go in here. There's cash places on the podium. There's cards, there's prize boxes, there's going to be signed jerseys in it as well. And then, yeah, these are the rules. Old school specialist, maximum of 2 players with a minimum of L15 of 55 and minimum 1 L15 of 40 or under. Maximum 3 from the same club. Multi-entry, You get the bonus, you get the card XP, you get captain, you get collection bonus, everything but scarcity. So it's just the colour of the card doesn't matter. Everything else does.
Like you said, I think the interesting play there is using your kind of Europa League cards and your American cards to win potential Champions League cards. But I think a lot of people that have Man City, Bayern cards will probably be playing those in Champ, because I think that there'll be a lot less competition in that potentially. And like I said, if you're only winning cards from the competition who play in that game week, if you've got Champions League cards into the sort of quarters and semis forwards,
I don't think Champ will be open. Sorry to interrupt you. I don't think Champ will be open
at all.
No, I think it's only open for like match days of like the leagues and stuff like that. So there needs to be a certain amount of teams for it to be open in the first place. But I think they will open it if there's like a full match day in the midweek or something like that.
Okay, interesting. All right. Well, yeah.
There will be All-Star, there will be caps.
True.
Under 23.
True, yeah. Well, I think when that lineup builder comes into play, it'll be a little bit clearer. But yeah, I like it. I like it as a competition.
Yeah, so that's one to watch out for as well. But yeah, I think I've set my teams, I've deleted them, I've reset them, I've re-deleted them. Not the Celtic teams, I've kind of picked himself at this point, just waiting for training photos, like I say. And I think we're all kind of in that process at the moment, Stish. How far are you down the road to being set for the weekend?
I've got like initial lineups kind of set. I need to do my limited ones just with any kind of like bits that are left over. The only kind of like cloud hanging over what I've done up to this point is the figuring out whether I go use that challenger in-season team or split it up and get another sort of classic season involved, which I'm leaning towards doing at the moment. And similarly in contender, but I think I've already got 3 contender teams anyway, so I think it makes sense for me to keep that in-season team in there, even if it's not particularly strong, just because I've got 3 other teams. If I lose that one, I'm gonna have even more cards that go in unused. But yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the lineups where they are. I'm just going to be keeping an eye on lineup builder. Any of those like 100%ers that start to drop to that 80% or below, then I'm going to have to start doing a bit more research into how likely they are to start. But yeah, I feel pretty good about where I'm at the minute. I'll probably spend some time this evening once the kids go to sleep. I'll probably redo it all and then have a look at how different it is from what I already set. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a very intriguing game week. I'm going to keep very much glued to my phone watching the results, I think.
I'm optimistic, Stish. We'll be back here, hopefully with Tony as well, and we're going to have a lot of end product to discuss. What did we learn? What did we find? What did we open? Did we win anything? And everything else in between. To anyone, obviously, that's caught the podcast, good luck to you all this game week. We'll see you all in Division 3. And yeah, good luck this game week.
Cheers, everyone.